Welcome to this explainer. Today we are unraveling one of the absolute greatest mysteries of human development, adolescent behavior. If you've ever interacted with a teenager, you already know their emotions can turn on a dime. One minute, everything is perfectly fine, and the next, you're navigating this completely inexplicable meltdown. Well, to understand why this happens, we kind of have to stop looking at teenagers as just moody adults and start looking at what's actually happening inside their heads. We really need to view the adolescent brain as a massive, complex biological work zone, complete with missing tools, erratic hours, and honestly, a whole lot of loud noises. It's a highly relatable scenario, isn't it? Why do perfectly capable kids who manage to hold it together all day long suddenly just explode the second they walk through the front door? If you're a parent or an educator, you've likely felt that deep frustration and confusion. But I promise you, there are real answers. And those answers aren't rooted in a child just trying to be difficult. They're rooted entirely in the fascinating science of neurology and psychology. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with 1, brains under construction, move into 2, the science of aggression, then explore 3, the after-school collapse, map out 4, the escalation cycle, and finally wrap up with 5, how parents can help. Let's get into it. Section 1, brains under construction, the neuroscience of the teenage brain. The American College of Pediatricians points out that the adolescent brain is undergoing this dramatic structural remodeling starting around age 12 and continuing all the way into the mid-20s. And this isn't just a slight tuning up, it's a fundamental rewiring of the entire system. There's a profound biological imbalance at play here. On one hand, you have the prefrontal cortex. Think of this as the CEO of the brain. It's responsible for logic, planning, and inhibiting impulses. But here's the catch. This area is immature and won't fully develop until a person is maybe 23 to 25 years old. On the other hand, you have the amygdala, the brain's emotion center, which is highly active and developing super rapidly. Because these two areas aren't well connected yet, a teenager might intellectually understand a situation, but emotionally react to it in a totally separate way. It's like they're processing experiences in parallel, rather than actually having a dialogue. Now, this rewiring happens through 2 incredibly critical processes. First is pruning, which is literally a use-it-or-lose-it scenario where unused nerve cells die off just to make the brain more efficient. Second is myelination. This is where the remaining useful neurons get a sort of insulating sheath to make signals travel faster. But because so much energy is going into this physical remodeling, the brain actually experiences a temporary decrease in its capacity to learn new emotional skills. Like I said, it is a loud, messy construction site in there. Because of this vulnerable biological state, adolescents face some unique environmental and biological risks. For instance, their dopamine system, the reward center, requires significantly more stimulation to feel the exact same level of pleasure as an adult, and that naturally increases their susceptibility to high-risk behaviors and addictions. Plus, in emotionally charged situations, their cognitive control simply drops. They are also neurologically wired to be hypersensitive to peer influence and social media rejection. To them, processing a lack of online likes or feeling excluded translates as intense, almost physical emotional pain. Which brings us to Section 2, the science of aggression, reactive aggression and response inhibition. So what happens when this highly emotional, underregulated brain encounters a hostile situation? Well, a fascinating study published in Frontiers in Psychology explored exactly this. Scientists used an emotional go-no-go paradigm. They took adolescents who exhibited high levels of reactive aggression, meaning they instinctively lash out when provoked, and compared them to a control group. While monitoring the adolescents' brains using high-resolution, event-related potential, or ERP imaging, the researchers showed them pictures of angry and happy faces. They basically tested their ability to hit the brakes on a physical action, a concept known in psychology as response inhibition. The findings brilliantly illustrate the internal biological struggle. The study found that when reactively aggressive adolescents saw angry expressions, their brains exhibited a significantly smaller no-go P3 effect. To put it simply, the P3 effect is the brain's braking system during the later stages of processing an action. And for these kids, their brakes literally failed. They made measurable biological errors in actual inhibitory control, resulting in much higher mistake rates when reacting to hostile faces. This shows us that their aggression isn't just some attitude problem. It's a measurable failure of neurological response inhibition. Section 3, the after-school collapse, when the restraint runs out. Okay, let's take all this clinical data out of the lab and bring it right into your living room on a random Tuesday afternoon. Enter the concept of after-school restraint collapse, or ASRC. Psychotherapist Anthea and I coined this term to describe that intense emotional breakdown that happens when a child finally gets home. Think about it. All day long, their immature prefrontal cortex has been working in absolute overdrive, expending vast amounts of energy to sit still, follow rules, manage tricky social dynamics, and process a ton of sensory input. By the time they hit the front door, they are totally tapped out. The restraint is gone. They collapse exactly because home is their safe space. You can usually spot when a child's neurological construction site is overwhelmed because the signs of ASR are highly visible. They might flat out refuse to follow simple instructions. You might hear harsh, hurtful language, or suddenly see physical fights breaking out with siblings. It often features screaming, intense meltdowns, and a complete, absolute inability to initiate tasks like homework or chores. At that moment, their brain simply has zero fuel left for executive functioning.
Section 4. The escalation cycle. Mapping the meltdown.
The crucial point here is knowing what to do when that after-school exhaustion spirals into something bigger. When ASRC leads to extreme conflict, it actually follows a surprisingly predictable path known as the FREVA escalation cycle, and it moves fast. Stage 1 is the trigger. A stressor initiates the emotion. Stage 2 is agitation, bringing restless, anxious behavior. Stage 3, acceleration, hits with raised voices and heightened frustration. This blasts right into the peak, the absolute highest level of aggression. Eventually, the adrenaline burns off in de-escalation, followed by Stage 6, recovery and exhaustion. Recognizing those early trigger and agitation stages is absolutely paramount if you want to intervene effectively.
Section 5. How parents can help. De-escalation and scaffolding strategies.
Now that we've mapped out the storm, let's talk about the anchor. What can parents and caregivers actually do? Let's focus on actionable, evidence-based solutions. First, we look at daily support to buffer that after-school collapse before it even begins. When they get in the car or walk through the door, minimize questions. I know it's tough, but resist the ultimate parenting urge to immediately ask, "How was your math test? Do you have homework?" Give them space. Create a structured transition routine that accommodates their sensory needs. Maybe it's just a quiet room with pillows and dim lighting. And critically, satisfy their basic physical needs immediately. Have a snack ready, let them rest, allow their brain's fuel gauge to slowly tick back up before making any demands. But what happens if they do hit that peak escalation? FREVA provides excellent active de-escalation techniques for when the child's prefrontal cortex is completely offline. First, pause and breathe to ground yourself. Your calm nervous system can actually help regulate theirs. Use a soft tone and very simple words. Complex logic? Yeah, that won't work right now. Validate their feelings by saying something like, "I see you are really upset," which proves you're listening without endorsing the aggressive behavior. Finally, provide simple choices to empower them, like, "Would you like to sit here with me or take a break in your room?" Doing this isn't just about surviving a crazy afternoon. It is about fundamentally shaping their future. The American College of Pediatricians notes that adolescents with highly connected, monitoring parents are actually at 1/4 the risk of substance abuse compared to those with hands-off parents. That's huge. Your presence, your calm, and your boundaries literally alter their risk trajectories over the long haul. I want to share a really powerful quote from the ACP's research. The broader context in which adolescents develop exerts a powerful impact. An adolescent's close relationship with his/her parent is protective despite other negative environmental factors. You are the ultimate buffer. You are the architect providing the safe scaffolding while their brain undergoes this massive renovation. Understanding the science really strips away the blame, doesn't it? It isn't that they won't behave. It's that in these moments of profound sensory and emotional overload, their brain biology dictates that they temporarily can't. So I want to leave you with this question. Knowing what you know now about the biology of their brains, how will you adjust your scaffolding today to support the incredible, complex construction site of your child's mind? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I truly hope you feel empowered to take these insights directly into your everyday life.